Well, I would say that this season you can expect a lot of turmoil that spreads beyond the United States. We're looking to the outer world, but then also there's quite a bit of turmoil within the United States. So I this year have moved off the ship, and I am out of my digi blues, and I have let my hair down.
She gets to rock out the prettiness that she is.
And I work as the Deputy Chief of Staff, so I'm the senior advisor to the president, the military advisor to the president. And so what is it to be trying to rebuild an entire society of like what is left of the United States while having a little bit of turmoil on the high seas.
Are you going to stay off the ship the whole time, or are you going to?
That is to be determined. So we are in the middle of shooting right now. So I actually legitimately don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, they keep that from us so
They
that
do.
it can be very real and fresh when we get a script. We learn at that moment that's the next part of our journey.
Do you prefer it that way, or are you guys dying to know? Do you like?
I'd prefer to know everything right now, but things don't always turn out that way, and you just gotta kind of go with it. I think it's more helpful for the creative process because you end up getting a script much later. You don't have time to really harp on it. You get it, and it's a natural, authentic response, and then you get to film it pretty soon after that. So I feel like it keeps us right in the pulse of what the show is.
I know we're going off to Asia, but will we still see some of the U.S.?
Yes. So that's primarily I deal with the United States and what's going on, and as Stephen said, what's left of the democracy that we have. Is there room for democracy in the type of world that we now have? What is it to run into people that are trying to use power for their own benefit rather than for the good of the whole? And everyone has different ideas of what the good of the whole, what that means. I think in a way, we're in a very politically intense time in our history right now, and so I think in a nice way it reflects that in the show. That the show reflects that.
Some parallels with American.
It's exactly.
Well, what happens on our show always is there's always some kind of mirroring that happens with current affairs. So when our show aired last year, or the first season, Ebola really came to the forefront right at the same time as our show came out. So there's always a lot of correlations.
That was happenstance.
Right. That was not our doing.
That was not our doing.
But there's always usually some kind of congruency that happens with the real world and with our show, and it's very much again in touch with the pulse of what's happening, whether it's an unconscious thing the writers did or if it's something they're choosing to tell the story in that way. But it's always pretty current.
Right. And the president, this year we see President Michener enacting policies that. Oh, thank you. We're good?
Yeah.
The first thing he did when he saw me this morning was go, "Hey!" all over my hair.
Come here, sugar.
But yeah, he starts enacting policies, and you see the different regional leaders in the United States. We don't have states anymore. There's no more California. There's no more Oregon. You see them either fighting those policies or thinking they're a great idea. So you have that conflict at home.
And in terms of like character development and where your characters are going moving forward, what's that process been like? How have you seen the characters develop? Where can we expect them to?
I think the development is deepening the relationship, and there's a lot of trust that has to happen this season. And through distance, it's harder to trust. Through more of unknown, it's harder to latch on to something that feels like you're in control. So I think this season there's been a journey where we're really having to latch on to each other in a much deeper way.
And for Kara, I think that, as I said in the panel, what is it to be a military woman, but not in your digi blues, not in the, with the hair pulled back. Just even putting on that uniform informs you as an actor, and I'm sure as people, informs your movements, the way you carry yourself, and all of that is great. It was sort of easy to click into when you start putting things on, the layers on, and what is that when all of those are stripped away? I'm wearing, I look like I'm from House of Cards this season. Who is Kara when she's not on the ship?
And just to close it out, I think it's also important to know that when you have different motivation on what we're fighting for, we now, potentially have a child.
Yeah.
So the reason why we're fighting, our purpose it's much different this year, and so to carry that along this season has added another layer. Thank you.
Thanks, Miranda.